welcome back to the channel. Today I thought we'd do something a little bit different and take a look at some of the epic failures of combo decks that I've tried to brew in the last couple weeks using Outlaws of Thunder Junction. And this first one we have is an infinite combo around Ghired. Mirror the Wilds, a 3-mana 3/3 with haste. It says non-token creatures you control have tapped to create a token that's a copy of target token you control that entered the battlefield this turn. Now the infinite combo here is with Dominating Vampire, which when it comes into play, it untaps a creature and gives a haste if it has mana value less than or equal to the number of vampires you control. And so if you can create a token copy of the Dominating Vampire, you can use Ghired to create a copy of that, which will then untap the Ghired, and then you can create another copy of the Dominating Vampire, and then untap the Ghired, and then get infinite Dominating Vampires onto the battlefield. So it seems simple enough, but this deck was not very good and failed for a couple of reasons. One was it's just very easy to interrupt this combo. Any sort of creature removal can interrupt it, and it's also just a 3-card combo that requires quite a bit of mana because you need to have the Dominating Vampire out, which is 3 mana, Ghired out, which is 3 mana, and then cast something which creates a copy of the vampire. And for that we had the Molten Duplication, which was probably the best of the ways of making a token copy of it because it's just 2 mana. So you copy the vampire and go off in that way. Or you had Nahiri, which create a copy of the vampire, or Jaxis, which is pretty much the same as Molten Duplication, but 1 more mana. So all these ways are fine, and I was using Geological Appraiser as a way to just discover into either of these pieces, Fauna Shaman as a way to find the Ghired, Melira as a way to protect it, Spirited Companion was a way to just draw extra cards, Bitter Reunion was a way to just give all your tokens haste so you could win that same turn. Commune with Nature found any of the creatures, and Lightning Helix just as some removal and life gain against aggro. And just a Naya mana base. So the deck wasn't terrible, but really wasn't good, and lost quite a few games. However, I do want to show you one game where it actually worked, and I was able to go off and win the game with infinite tokens. So take a look at that video, and then I'll show you the next epic fail deck. All right, we are trying to go infinite in standard. Seems like a fine hand. Infinite tokens, and read here. Okay. Let Shaman. So this does let us fetch 1 piece. These are both ways of making a token copy, and there's another way of making a token copy. So I think what we want to do is use this to search. And could just play out the Nahiri here. That's actually probably okay. Best use of our mana anyways. Discard the Jaxis, I think. We drop. Oh, well, there is the Ghired. Okay, well. They're all tap lands. And we got Googly Eyes versus Googly Eyes. Very important matchup. Eldrazi. Okay. Down. So to hold this. This will discard a land for sure. We have it here. Although this can bring back the Fauna Shaman. And it has haste. So we can discard here and find the vampire and blaze a vampire. we have a way for infinite tokens next turn. But if they have a sweeper, well, we're not going to go for it, so. Let's see what we got. Tap and untap. Tap and untap. Tap and untap. Keep it going. Alright, good enough. GG. Alright, next up on our epic fail combo decks is this deck I was calling One Shot Colossus. Certainly a funny deck when you have 56 lands and only 4 actual spells in the deck. All of them Cultivator Colossus, which is a 7-mana star. Its power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. And when it enters the battlefield, you can put a land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you do it, draw a card and repeat this process. So essentially, if you have any amount of lands in your hand, you can continually drop them onto the battlefield and draw another card. And if you draw another land, then you can play that and just continue to do this until you start hitting non-lands. But there's not very many non-lands in this deck. The reason I wanted to build this deck is because of these new crime lands or ping lands that do 1 damage. So there's 25 of the ping lands in this deck. So essentially the idea is if you play Cultivator Colossus, even if they kill it, as long as you get this trigger on the stack and you have 3 lands in your hand, or if you've drawn more Cultivator Colossuses, 2 lands, 1 land in your hand, depending on how many you've drawn or left in the deck, you can basically play your entire deck out onto the field, which is all lands, and you'll get 25 triggers and do 25 damage to your opponent right away. So obviously this deck has weaknesses because you're not playing any spells. So to mitigate that, what I tried to do was to play spells that were lands, which are the channel spells, like the Eiganjo, the Otawara, Sokenzan, and Argoth, and Boseiju. Argoth, yeah, it's not a channel land, but you can make 2/2 bear, and then you also have the branch of the Vitu-Ghazi, which can be a 2/2 disguise creature. None of these are particularly efficient spells, but they are things you can do to interact with your opponent to try to survive until turn 7. So that's basically what you're trying to do. Also an Arid Archway and a Blast Zone as some utility lands. Cavern of the Souls was so that your Cultivator Colossus doesn't get countered. And then Conduit Pylons was just to kind of give you some card selection, trying to dig to the Cultivator Colossus. So this deck was really, really bad, and I lost many games trying to make it work, and it really just didn't. But for the fun of it, why don't we take a look at least one game that I played in the casual queue when I was testing it out that I did actually win. So enjoy that. All right, One Shot Colossus time. Take a mull, look for it. I think we gotta keep on 6. Put back a tap land. We have a little bit of interaction in this hand. Alright. Not what you want to see, but we do have an answer. Maybe able to slow him down a little bit. Alright, that's a lot of kimonos. And take out another one. Alright, still play this. Might as well. Alright. Okay, well, here's a land drop. Go for channel. Okay, not out of it yet. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just activate this. And let's hold the land for now. Alright, play with fire. Ooh. That's the big one. Okay. Well, let's go for it. Let's attack first and see. We may, depending on how much what's on the top of the deck, we may get lucky or unlucky here. Having only one land in hand, not the best. But let's give us a chance of hitting enough lands in a row. Plant. Hope that the other Colossuses are near the bottom of the deck. And this is, okay, I have to stop here. But we do get to pick up a land, so we should be able to, if this doesn't get him next turn, the land on top too. Alright, down to 7. 3. Got there. Alright. Alright, last up on our epic fails was this deck built around another round, which is a 3 mana sorcery with XX. Exile any number of creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. Repeat this process X times. So this deck wasn't terrible, but it really wasn't great. It just sort of fell flat to a lot of other decks and was kind of a worse version of the red-white tokens list. But I wanted to see if I could use another round in some way that would be powerful. And the best I could come up with was with Devilish Valet, which doubles its power every time another creature comes into play. So I thought if I had a Devilish Valet and I another rounded a few creatures, or if X was 1 or more, it would create a ton of tokens coming into play, creatures coming into play, triggers for the Valet. The same was kind of true for the War Leader's Call. If you triggered that a whole bunch, it would just ping your opponent a bunch. So that was the idea of it, and to use all creatures that have come into play abilities. So we got the Novice Inspector, the Epicure, the Resolute Reinforcement, Spirited Companion, Charming Scoundrel, Sanguine Evangelist, and these Red Cap Gutter Dweller, and the new Hellspur Posse Boss. So they all create tokens when they come into play or have some sort of triggered ability. And so if you get another round, it will trigger all of them and get you those come into play abilities again. And especially if you have Devilish Valet, you can swing for a ton of damage. So that was the idea of the deck. It wasn't particularly great. I did have one pretty sweet win that I want to show you. It was a game that I'll just show you the end of the game because it went on for a very long time. My opponent had comboed off with that lands combo and had fireballed me down to 1 life, and then I finally drew a Devilish Valet and was able to do some exciting stuff. So I'll show you that win and enjoy. Woohoo. Haha, got there somehow. Alright, so that's how the deck went off and did a ton of damage with Devilish Valet. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Do you want to see more decks that I've tried to make work that really have not worked? Do you enjoy the fails and the pretty sweet wins when they do? Let me know in the comments what you think. Any ideas of maybe even how to improve any of these decks that make them more competitive or work at all. But I appreciate you watching and hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you all in the next video.